Hello, Lee here, back again with another video to preview the Burnley game on Saturday. Sunderland looking to make a back-to-back Premier League wins, and I think it's the first time we've ever done that at the start of a Premier League season. It'll be a different game at West Ham. I think Burnley will make it very difficult for us. To be obviously their first game back to Premier League at Turf Moor, where the crowd will get behind them. And obviously they're a very, very hard team to beat where they were last season. As I say, familiar with what we were last season. They finished second, got promoted. Kept 30 clean sheets in 46 games and only conceding 16 goals. They really based the promotion on the defence. The good trio at the back between Egan Riley, James Trafford and Maxine Esteve. And obviously Josh Cullen in front of them. They were very, very hard to beat last year and arguably deserved to go up second. But Sunderland never lost them last season. We beat them at home 1-0 thanks to Romain Mundell goal and Drew 0-0 at Turf Moor and really should have beaten there. But thanks to Trafford's heroics, Wilson Essendon missed 2 late penalties, which saw them draw the game 0-0. As I say, the manager Scott Parker, he's got a good record in the Championship. He's gotten Fulham promoted, Bournemouth promoted, and now Burnley promoted, so he's followed on from that. But the only thing is with him, he hasn't got a very good Premier League record. He's normally sacked early in the season. He was sacked early at Bournemouth after they got beat 9-0 off Liverpool. But I don't think he was back very well at the beginning of that summer. And at Fulham, I think he got sacked early as well. Don't think he lasted very long at Fulham. So for Burnley's sake, if they want to stay up, you're hoping that changes. But obviously after the defeat down already at Tottenham, which is obviously a difficult fixture compared to I was at home to West Ham and Leeds at home to Everton. They did have the most difficult fixture out of 3 promoted teams, so you sympathise with them with that. But they were looking to get back to winning ways, so I think it'll be a difficult game for us to try, obviously for Sunderland to try and navigate that and try and get the win. They've had an active transfer window. Obviously they've signed a few. They signed Leslie Ukachukwu from Chelsea as well as Armando Broja from Chelsea. They signed Loom Tushuma from Lazio. Hartem from Feyenoord, left back. They re-signed Brun Larsen from Stuttgart. He was there in Stuttgart and he's returned back to Burnley for about a £5 million fee. They've signed 2 goalkeepers. They signed Maz Weib and they signed Martin Dubravka to obviously to fill the hole of James Trafford, who went to Man City. And obviously they signed the experienced heads of Axel Tuan Zebi, who was at Ipswich last season. He got let go at the end of his contract and signed for Burnley on a free transfer. And Kyle Walker, who's obviously his signing's been up for debate. I think you're not getting Kyle Walker of 5-6 years ago. Obviously he's 35 now. Positionally he was never been very good and he was PSO's got him out of it. And obviously been 35 would have lost the yard. He hasn't filled himself with glory the last couple of years. That's why he got dumped by City and obviously Milan didn't sign him. So it's still on the fence where guys Kyle Walker would be a good signing for Burnley. But it's Kyle Walker. He's experienced alone for Burnley's sake. I'll try and see him through a few games. Obviously, the players that are left, James Trafford left to City, as I just mentioned. CJ, Egan Riley went to Marseille on a free. And depending who you listen to, Josh Brownhill either got released or he turned down a new contract, which after probably his best season in Championship football is a massive blow to Burnley for the amount of goals he got from midfield last year, and it's a very hard thing to replace. 2 players have returned from from loan spells. Ekdal returned from a loan spell at Groningen and he played last week. And Zeki Amdouni returned from a loan spell at Benfica, but I think he's up for transfer and I think he'll possibly be leaving Burnley before the transfer window closes. So they have had to go as well in all your range permanent transfers for Bashir Humphreys, Zayn Fleming, Marcus Edwards and Jaden Anthony. A lot of money spent on them, so as that stifled them a little bit when it goes to get a little bit more quality. They have signed a lot of players, but how much have they improved their first 11 is still up for debate. And that's come from Burnley fans as well, it's not just us. The previous game obviously lost 3-0 to Spurs. They only received 32% possession, which is normally what Burnley do. Well, they normally like to sit in a low block and defend well. Then they won a lot of games 1-0 last year by doing that and getting a goal. Obviously, at the start of the season they were flying, but towards when Parker started getting that defensive unit intact, they'll win games 1-2-0, and they didn't obviously mentioned they didn't concede many, so having a 32% possession doesn't surprise us. They did have 14 shots, however, which was only 2 less than Tottenham's, but they only had 4 shots on target, so they weren't clinical enough. I think there was one chance where Jaden Anthony's crossed the ball over for Hannibal, and he just hasn't finished it, and maybe he should have. The team that they set up, they started off in a 5-4-1. It was Dubravka in goal, was a back five, a Sonny at right back, with Hartman at left back. In the back three was Kyle Walker, Ekdal and Esteve. So the starter, Kyle Walker, as a right centre half rather than right back. The midfield was Hannibal, Josh Laurent, Josh Cullen and Jaden Anthony. You're looking really, it's a good championship midfield. But is it really up to scratch when it comes to the Premier League? And Lyle Foster was up front. There were certain names who come off the bench. Brian Larson came off the bench. Joe Wogo came off the bench. Edwards came off the bench. Fleming came off the bench. And the new right winger the same from Lazio, he came off the bench. I think you'll probably see the lad from Chelsea start. I don't think Armando Broja's ready at all. I think Scott Parker's come out and said I think he's still a few weeks away, which doesn't surprise us really, because with Armando Broja, he had a good loan spell at Southampton. But other than that, he's just been treatment table after treatment table after treatment table for every club he's been at. And he hasn't really getting over them. Like at Everton, he got a really bad injury at the start of the season, came back, and I think he got injured in his first game back. And he was never seen since. And with that, is 25 million quid, a lot of money on that. I don't know who signed off on it. It's obviously not me signing players before, but if he signed for Sunderland, I'd have been gutted if we paid £25 million for Armando Broja. But he could get fit and he could score the goals that keeps Burnley up, but I can't see it personally. And obviously he's not fit for the weekend, he won't play. You probably see Marcus Edwards coming into the team because they're trying to go a bit more. You would think they're trying to go a bit more attacking at home against the relegation rival, really. So it's, do you class it as a relegation 6 point and only 2 games into the season? I say you would, because if Sunderland win the game, that's massive. Because that puts us on 6 points and it's immediately 6 points clear with Burnley. I know gaps can get made up easily, but puts a hell of a lot more pressure on Burnley, even though it's only 2 games into the season, especially with Sunderland having Brentford to come as well. And obviously Burnley's next 6 fixtures are absolutely disgusting for them poor buggers. I think they play all the top 6 out of last season, which is unfortunate for them. The danger men for Burnley, I think the midfielder they're getting from Chelsea, I'm going to stop pronouncing his names. I think I'm ruining it every time I get it wrong, every time I see it. I think he'll be a danger man if he starts. I think he will. He's a powerful midfielder. He's tall, he's strong, he's powerful, he's pacey. He's full of energy. He'll run all day, so he'll probably counteract the Sadiq and Diarra midfield like we have. Don't think we'll get the run of the midfield as much as we did last week against West Ham because of this lad. And he will cause us issues, and we've just got to make sure we keep him quiet. I think Marcus Edwards will start as well. He's a very, very good, tidy player. Obviously, he came very close to signing for Sunderland in the January transfer window, but opted to go to Burnley to play under Scott Parker, who he's played with before, Tottenham, over a decade ago. So he's obviously one of them players where if he's on his day, he can cause any team problem because he's that good. Obviously, he's come from Sporting Lisbon, so he's got a good pedigree as well. And obviously the thing with Kyle Walker, where will he play? Will he play right back? Will he play right centre half? If he plays right back, I'd be more confident in us winning the game, because Kyle Walker's never been good positionally. His pace is getting him out of trouble. So if we play him in the back four, I'd fancy a Dinger to get the best of him, because for that reason. But if you play in the back five, you can counteract that by having a right wing back next to him. I mean, I do think he was at fault for the first goal. He's allowed Richarlison to step off him far too easily. And I don't know, there's a reason why Kyle Walker's gone to Burnley, but you kind of discount what the man's done in his career and how good he has been, and all it takes him to have a good day and you'll keep a Dingler quiet, which might keep the rest of Sunderland quiet. You never know. Score prediction, I think Sunderland can win the game. We are good enough to win the game. I think we've got a better team than Burnley. But I think Turf Moor is just going to be a difficult game. And if we come away with a point, I think it'll be a good point to take into the Brentford game at home. Especially after watching Brentford against Nottingham Forest for the first 60 minutes. They were shocking against Brentford. So if you get a point here, go and try and win the Brentford game. That'd be 7 points out of 9. Would 5 points out of 9 be a bad return? No. A lad at work who supports Liverpool Town and said if Sunderland don't win this, it'd be very underwhelming after the West Ham win. But I think if you're coming away from the cauldron that is Turf Moor, after their first game back in the Premier League, and you come away with a point and you don't lose, I think that's a very good point for how far we are in the season. It's not like we're chasing points and we need to win. I think it's a must not lose game rather than a must win game. And even though it sounds stupid saying only 2 games into the season, but when you're fighting relegation, every point's massive. So if you're playing a team that you just come up with, you've got to be looking to beat them, which I think we can do. But I'm going to sit on the fence and say 1-1. I fancy Eliza Mayenda to score again. I think Alderete will come in for Seal, and I think that'll be only change to the team. You'll probably see McKaylee come on the bench. Who he comes on for, I don't know. You'll probably see Matthew Walker on the bench. Again, who he comes on for, I don't know. But I think we might have more depth than what Burnley have. I mean, look at there. See that team that I just mentioned there, it doesn't really scream Premier League to me. And if you look at Sunderland's main midfield, obviously Xhaka, Diarra and Sadiq, who I think will continue in that midfield. If it doesn't work, you need a little bit more creativity. You've got Enzo Lafayette to come off the bench. If Mayenda starts to tire and the Burnley defence come to tire, you've got the pace of Isidore to come off the bench. You've always got that thing where I think we went to 4-4-2 at Turf Moor last year. It spun the game in our favour, and we pinned them back and pinned them back and pinned them back. We arguably should have won the game, so that'll be another thing as well. That's not discounting Patrick Roberts and Dan Neil as well, who arguably were thereabouts in the Championship at the top end last season. So I think Sunderland should have enough to win the game. I am confident we'll win the game. But I'm going to sit in the fence for my score prediction and say 1-1. Because I just sit on the fence and probably people call us boring and tell us to go some balls and say Sunderland win. But I'm going to say 1-1. I'm sticking with it. Thank you again for the likes and the views on the previous video. Look at them on the channel if you're going to have a look at them. I should be back with a review of the Burnley game Sunday. I'll try and get it out Sunday in the aftermath of the game rather than Monday as I did last week. And let's hope we're celebrating 3 points. Anyone who's going down to Turf Moor, have a safe journey down, enjoy the game. And let's just hope someone will come back from Turf Moor with 3 points. How are the lads?